Welcome back, everybody. Let's have a look at Matic, shall we? Because I believe that we're on the verge of a Matic breakout, alright? And that is driven mainly off a fundamental basis, so the chart analysis can show us some things, but basically we're trading at this moment in time on the expectation of perhaps a Coinbase listing, but I don't really, that's not for me. If it does happen, great. If it doesn't happen, then we're back to where we are anyway, but mainly on the fact that staking is going to be implemented within a week or so. Other than that, the chart actually looks pretty good, and I'll tell you why. But first of all, let's go and have a look at Bitcoin, shall we? So Bitcoin made some moves to the top side of the range, right? So as I said yesterday, I was shorting generally the market, alright, and I'm still shorting. I'm holding on to those shorts, and the reason for it is because this is more or less basically where I entered the short anyway, seeing that we were dribbling around. I've had this short on for a little while. In retrospect, probably should have closed it down here, but and been good to re-enter it, but I am expecting a bigger drop overall into low 8,000s, maybe lower than that. But that hasn't happened yet. In actual fact, what happened today was we had a bit of a pump, and we came up to test the upwards what was previously support. So you can see that this was a nice support level that we were stuck in this decent range, uptrending until we hit the downwards resistance that we've been under for a very, very long time, over 2 years now. So I was waiting for this to resolve itself one way or another, and I decided to go short in here where I saw that there was no momentum. So what's happened here is we've come up to test it, but it's been rejected from it. Not a heavy rejection, but a rejection all the same. So it would have been a good idea maybe to have closed these shorts back down here and entered into a new short here, because I'm pretty confident that we're actually still going to go down. So that said, we can hang around here and actually still make some higher moves, because this resistance, it would appear that this is, no coincidence. The support, upwards trending support, has turned to a level of resistance now, and so each day that goes by, this is going to be about a $50 or $65 move to the up, so it could keep bumping its head on here, and obviously it could break out and break through. I mean, essentially we are above the middle of the Bollinger Band here, so it would suggest that perhaps it would try higher, and maybe it could get back into this zone. And if it did, I would be expecting an inevitable test of this descending trend line here, where I would probably say we're likely to be rejected from again. I'm not a perma bear, by the way. It might sound that way, but I'm just very skeptical of Bitcoin at the moment. However, this it still looks like an okay formation, but the formation to me looks like it's changing, as you can see now that we're actually making lower highs. There's no real method to it. Let's just see if there is anything to it just on candle bodies alone. Not really. No, you can't really chat or trend that out at the moment. Wait till this daily closes, see where we stand from there. Either way, to me it looks like it wants to make lower highs, which basically means a downtrend. Even if we've got higher lows, it looks like it's downtrending on its highs. So to me it looks like it's a little bit overcooked, and maybe wants to come back down again. So without boring you to death on Bitcoin, my brief analysis stays the same as yesterday. The support level is currently roughly this green 50 exponential. That's fine. Breaking down from there, which would be a big breakdown, because we've got green 50 here, we've also got the top of this cloud. Breaking down from there should bring us all the way down to this level, 8,500. And the way I'm seeing it now, if this level does break, and it won't break immediately, we're going to be coming down to test this green 50 several times, I imagine, before it breaks down. But when it does break down, it will be the 200 exponential, so roughly mid 8,000s before we find a bounce, and we might just recover from there. It's not the worst chart in the world. Obviously it's a very good looking chart, but despite that move today, it's still not looking strong enough for me, and I'll hold on to my shorts for a little longer anyway. Right, let's move on to Matic. So Matic, the important one, and actually I'll put some money into this. I know yesterday I was thinking I was being a little bit hesitant, but I decided to bite the bullet since there was an entry point opened up for me today. So I got in at this pretty much at the bottom of this level here. So I'm doing okay for the moment, but that's nothing in comparison to what I'm looking to gain out of this one. I think that there's a very good chance, given what with the staking and things like that, and if the nature of if the rest of the market remains reasonably healthy, there is a very good chance that we could be looking at least a 30x, a 30x. Imagine that. I mean, a 30% move from where we are now. So current price action there, 30% is going to bring us up to around about 29 cent. Okay, so that would be pretty big and bold. Now, the 27 cent mark here, which is marked off by this blue box territory thing that I've got going here, this is anywhere between 24 and 24.5 and 27. Now 27 cent, 2.7 cent, it's been a long day for me. 2.7 cent is historically the area to beat. Alright, so it stems all the way back to this first parabolic run. So this was before it was margin tradable, and the chart, I mean, it was a big move, and this is profit taking. This isn't profit taking, this is shorting. So what we see here is we see reasonable and quite generous bounces from these low levels here. So we're talking the level of accumulation mainly between 18 and 2 cent, so 1.8 and 2 cent, to up to 2.7 cent. That was a massive, epic bounce that we had there, but a rejection there. Again, came back down to roughly around that level again and rejected from there. Now, if you see when we look at the last run, what we had here, we had ourselves bouncing on the 25, and we didn't respect that whatsoever. When we got to 22.7 cent, we kind of smashed right through it, and then we rallied big time. But then when we look at it, where we come up to test this level here between 22.5 and 2.7 cent, this is a major rejection zone. All right. And breaking through here and closing a candle body, because I know you're all going to say, well, look at this wick here, yeah, we came up to test this level here, which is, that's neither here nor there. This is kind of what I'm expecting to see on this run, to see a wick test up to this level before it gets rejected. The 2.7 cent causes a FOMO boost because historically it's been quite strong. So what we saw here was it didn't respect that whatsoever, and FOMO'd all the way up to almost an all-time high. Technically, if you're looking at candle bodies, it was an all-time high, not an all-time high when it comes to price, but with candle bodies, that was the biggest you'd ever seen it. 2.7 will, once that breaks, that will allow for that to take place. Most recently, what happened is we had some moves up into the 2.5 and the 2.7 cent area, and we couldn't take it. Now, if we don't break it on the first few attempts, the likelihood is we're not going to break it at all. So I sold in this area because, like I say, I study Matic. I feel like I'm at one with its moves. All right, so it's always difficult to say when it's going to launch. When we're at this price action here, this kind of level here, but it's shown relative strength above 2 cent. So for me, anywhere above this 2 cent, and even where we are now. And by the way, I'm not a financial advisor. This isn't financial advice. It shows pretty good strength, in all fairness. We've also got this upwards trending level of support where wicks can bounce big time from it. Okay, so if we did break down, let's just say today, and go below 2 cent, we're talking basically actually within this this blue box range as well, which is another really strong accumulation zone between 18 well, 1.85 and 2 cent. But we're still above all of that at the moment, so technically this is no man's land. This is a range that could be up and down and up and down in. It's not got any specific resistances or supports. We're right in the middle of it at the moment, so I would expect to see actually some volatility within this range, perhaps maybe even come back down to 2 cent or lower, just lower, and then being bought back up and eventually making its way to 2.5 cent, maybe rejected. This is the range to be playing in, but it's an upwards trending level at the moment. So we've got golden crosses, we've got all our exponentials and simple moving averages in a decent looking spread, relatively decent. The smaller time frames are making their first crosses on the daily now. As you can see, we've got the 10 and the 9 crossing the 34, and can't remember what others are in there. It's been like I say, a long day. Either way, shorter terms time frames that are crossing over the longer term time frames, and our longer term time frames are nicely spread and diverging away from each other. So let's have a look at some of these other indicators. MACD has made a fresh cross on the daily now, so that's definitely confirmed above the 0 point. That's good. RSI is nudging its way on a upwards upwards level, which is good, nowhere near overcooked or anything like that. Money flow index is in a nice safe area, so all indicators on this look good for continuation, and even though I do expect Bitcoin to break bearish eventually, I think Bitcoin being in this level or thereabouts is actually going to allow this move to take place. Now, like I said, there are fundamental reasons that Matic looks like it wants to pump. So the chart is good, but fundamentally there are reasons. Okay, so you've got your staking about to be implemented, and maybe you'll get staking on Coinbase and Binance as well. So for the noobs like me that don't want to set up nodes, nice and convenient, I can hold my stack and whatnot. Aside from that, there's this the rumor that's been going on since as long as I can remember, that it might be listed on Coinbase. So those things are working in its favour. The Coinbase thing is neither here nor there to me, but if that were to happen, it would cause FOMO, very similar, if not bigger than this. It might even dwarf the chart in general. You know what that sort of thing does to a coin, especially a small cap coin and a highly volatile coin like Matic. So I would expect to see a very large pump and a pretty big dump as well. But actually, the interesting thing about that would be where it finds its level after it dumps. Does it dump and make its way back down to 2 cents and stay above 2 cents when it dumps? If it does, that might sound tragic, and it will be tragic for a lot of people that buy in at high levels, but actually I'd see that as a win, because when we've broken down in the past, we've come down to as low as 1 cent. So if we only come down after a pump and a dump to 2 cents, it shows that the staking has actually done what we all expect it to do, which is to incentivize buying pressure and not so much selling pressure. And there'll be people in it for the long haul, and that's what we'll be looking to see. So it will pump and dump if that happens, alright? And it's probably going to pump and dump anyway, even just off the back of staking. But if Coinbase announce that they're going to list it, then there will be a pump and dump. But where's the dump going to fall? Is it going to break below 2 cents? If it does, Matic to me might be one of those coins to perhaps maybe just utilize in situations like we are at right now, where you can see that there's a very strong chance of a significant pump, but not an investment coin. If it dumps down to 2 cents or above, I think the investment side of things is going to be quite valid, because that would be a win for me, and a win for the coin in general. When you have a highly volatile asset like this, there's people are going to be very scared to invest into it, for good reason. But if like I say, the pump and dump isn't as severe, I mean, you could lose 80% of your value. But if you are above 2 cents, if we're talking about Matic, if Matic remains above 2 cents, even after losing 80% of its value, that's a good sign for yet another recovery, and a stronger one at that. So I'll leave it with you there. Just a short video, and I hope you have a nice evening. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.